I don't really like to watch racing, but I do enjoy racing games from time to time. Not NASCAR, mind you, but other racing. You know, where there's something more than just simple left turns for a few hundred laps. Overall, I tend to enjoy the Need for Speed series. The first one I played was the original Hot Pursuit, and I think it was my friend who had it on PS1 and we played it to death. I know my brother had it on PC, and we still played it a lot, but I know the PS1 version got a lot more playtime. So when the PS2 came out and I was looking for games, I immediately bought Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and I didn't regret a single moment of it, as the game is still one of my all-time favorite racing games. The game doesn't give you any sort of plot, story, or any inkling of such. You instead have a few different racing options. You have a quick play, where the game randomly chooses a bunch of vehicles on a track and lets you start right away. You can do challenge mode, which is more of a single race with options that you can choose. And then you have the championship and ultimate racer modes, which is where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. Before I start talking about the game modes, I suppose I should explain the racing itself, just in case you don't know how it works. It's really simple. You go up against a bunch of other racers in various vehicles, in different locales, doing different amounts of laps in these circuits. There's also a few point-to-point races that you can partake in. In some races, there's also traffic that you'll need to avoid, along with the occasional police officer that will get more and more aggressive as you race on. More on that later. But other than that, it's standard racing. Slam on the gas, avoid vehicles, look out for shortcuts, and finish in first place. So now that you know how to race, let's discuss the racing modes. First, let me talk about the championship mode. You have 30 events, and the majority of them are locked. In order to unlock them, you have to complete the prior events and fulfill certain obligations. Most of the times, it's just win the event, but sometimes you can get away with simply getting third or better. In addition to unlocking the next couple events, you can also get a chance to unlock a car or track. Yep, these events are where you can do this. But that's all championship mode is. Standard racing. But what about Ultimate Racer? Well, here's where the main gimmick of the game is applied. The police. You have to race and avoid the cops and hazards that they bring with. And this is where the majority of the fun lies, because regular driving at 150 plus miles an hour is just plain boring. So here's how it works. As you're speeding around, you'll see the radar detector start beeping. Once you get close to a cop, if you're driving in any sort of illegal way, it'll give a chase. Of course, if you want to lose, you can drive the speed limit and the cops won't bother you. But if you want to make progress in the game, you'll be speeding, and so the officer will light up. It'll do everything within its power to stop you, which mostly involves ramming you to stop you. If it's able to pin you against a wall and you can't get away quick enough, you'll be busted and fined. 3 strikes, and you're out of the race. There's 4 different one levels that you can obtain. Obviously, the higher it gets, the more aggressive the police will be. If you've already been busted and you get lit up again, you'll immediately start with 2 stars. Now, preferably, you'd want your wanted level to be minimal, but let's face it, if you're decent at the game, you're going to have an entire county's task force on your ass. And cops aren't going to just stop at simply ramming you. The first thing that they'll do is call in a roadblock. Most of the times, they'll put barriers in between vehicles, making it a bit more difficult to evade it. But many times, you can get out of the way and just drive on the shoulder to avoid the roadblock. If the barrier isn't enough, then sometimes they'll put a spike strip in there. If you do hit this, you may as well let yourself get caught. You can keep driving, sure, but it'll be at a much slower speed, and it's better to just swallow your pride, slow down, get busted, and then get back on the road with a fresh vehicle. Yeah, getting busted apparently allows you to change your tires. Maybe the officers feel bad for you and help you out. But if you keep avoiding the roadblocks, then the police pull out the final trick out of their sleeve, the chopper. It will do more than hover around you like a mosquito. It'll speed ahead and drop a spike strip in the middle of the road. This is easy enough to avoid, but the barrels it'll drop? Not quite as much. You want to do as much possible to evade them, even if it involves slowing down to a crawl. If you smack one, you'll veer out of control, oftentimes spinning you out so you're facing the wrong side of the track. If that happens, you'll need to be quick to orient yourself to get going in the right way again. There's one thing that you can do to help yourself though. Your opponents can also get busted. If a roadblock is set up for you, but you avoid it, who's to say that it won't stop another racer? It'll happen, and it may even cause them to get fined. Hell, in the longer races, you can actually get them arrested too. It's nice to see an even playing field. So let's say that you're an ace at avoiding the cops. Will they keep up the pursuit? Well, not till the end of time. If you can manage to avoid every single trap they lay out for you, they'll actually call off the chase. You'll even get bonus points for it, called Beat the Cops. It's an awesome feeling. So these NFS points you earn, they're used to further increase your garage. As you accumulate points, you'll unlock vehicles that can be used in quick play and challenge mode. Since the championship events give you a specific vehicle or 3 to select from, these unlocked cars mean nothing there. As for earning points, there's a few different ways. The biggest sums are just from increasing your standings in a race for the first time. If you start in first place, the game will compensate you right at the start. You'll also earn points by avoiding the police roadblocks, leading laps, hitting your max speed, and my favorite, grabbing airtime. The longer you fly, the more points you earn. As you can see, the game looks pretty damn good. The graphics blew me away when I first bought the game, and I still enjoy them to this day. Everything looks pretty crisp, and there's enough differences with the environments to keep things interesting. This is good because many of the tracks crisscross each other, so although there might be different tracks officially, unofficially there are just different layouts in the same area, if that makes sense. The vehicles themselves look pretty good too. They can all get varying degrees of damage applied to them, but nothing that's going to make your jaw drop. There's basic stuff like broken windows, slightly damaged hoods, etc. It's a nice touch overall though. The soundtrack is simply phenomenal. I think it was one of the first games I played that contained a licensed soundtrack, and I always loved it. There weren't really a lot of bands I knew, other than maybe Rush, but I enjoyed the majority of the songs, minus maybe the Uncle Kracker one. I'll admit I was never a fan of his. What's interesting is that depending on the race type, you might hear a different version of the song. Basically, in standard races, the normal track will play, but in hot pursuit-based races, an instrumental version will play. This is apparently so that you can hear all the police chatter. It works well and creates a sense of immersion, which I'm perfectly fine with. Speaking of immersion, you might be thinking, well, can I be a cop? Well, yeah, you can actually. You can pick one of 5 available cruisers, each with increasingly faster top speeds. Then you chase down illegal street racers, needing to pin them against the wall and stay by them for a few seconds to arrest them. Unlike when you race, they're arrested after one offense. One of the things that you may not know is that you need to enable your sirens before being able to arrest somebody. If you trap a racer but don't have them selected, you won't arrest them. This is frustrating if you didn't know this little fact. And your vehicle isn't the only weapon you have against the racers. You have 3 chances to use a chopper of your own and roadblocks. Well, 3 instances of each. I always found the roadblocks to be more useful, but it's really up to you. And that's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. In my eyes, it's still one of the best racing games out there, even to this day. With an amazing soundtrack, nice graphics, and a large selection of vehicles and events, you won't be completing this in a weekend. If you have friends, it's a blast to see who can outrun the police. The only detrimental thing I could find with the game is that the tracks just don't seem to have enough variety. But that's a small thing considering that everything else as a whole is fully enjoyable. If you're a racing fan, be sure to check this one out. I highly recommend it. Final score? 9 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.